So, hey guys, listen, we're all trying to get more productive. And the question is, how do you find a way to get an edge? I'm a big believer that if you're getting mentoring or you're in an environment that causes growth, a growth-based environment, that you're much more likely to grow and you're going to grow faster. And that's why I love Growth Day. Growth Day is an app that my friend Brendan Burchard has created that I'm a big fan of. Write this down, growthday.com/ed. So if you want to be more productive, by the way, he's asked me, I post videos in there every single Monday that get your day off to the right start. He's got about $5,000, $10,000 worth of courses that are in there that come with the app. Also, some of the top influencers in the world are all posting content in there on a regular basis, like having the Avengers of personal development and business in one app. And I'm honored that he asked me to be a part of it as well and contribute on a weekly basis, and I do. So go over there and get signed up. You're going to get a free, tuition-free voucher to go to an event with Brendan and myself and a bunch of other influencers as well. So you get a free event out of it also. So go to growthday.com/ed. That's growthday.com/ed. The third generation Range Rover Sport is the most desirable, advanced, and dynamically capable yet. Range Rover Sport redefines sporting luxury with an instinctive drive and engaging on-road dynamics and effortless composure. Advanced cabin technologies such as active noise cancellation and cabin air purification offer new levels of comfort and refinement. A purposeful cockpit-like driving position sets the tone for a focused interior that promotes exhilarating driver engagement. The award-winning Pivi Pro infotainment is at the heart of the experience and provides intuitive control of all vehicle systems. Range Rover Sport. Design your Range Rover Sport at LandRoverUSA.com.
We have a spike in our career, and then there's always kind of like a drop off. If I'm never like satisfied, then I feel like I'm always going to strive to hit the next goal.
I am excited to continually evolve into my limitless potential that is done on a consistent basis of joy.
Even if you don't love doing the basics, you need to love what the basics produce for you, which is basically creating that foundation to which the rest of the house is built.
The same way that you could be in a circumstance and you can learn from people that do things right, you can learn from people that do things wrong.
The question was, Ed, I'm listening to one of the people that I watch on social media on a regular basis, and this influencer woke up that morning and said that they just did not want to get out of bed that day and they wanted to pull the covers over their head. And so they did. And they canceled the entire day. And they basically told us that some days you just don't have it. You should give in, pull the covers back over your head. That's your body talking to you. And cool it. Do you agree? No, I don't agree. That doesn't mean I don't think you should rest. I think you should rest. I think you should schedule your rest. I have a weakness where I overschedule. And that's a huge mistake because I just have an inability to say no to people. And I want to help so many people. But I overschedule myself to the point where many days I wake up and I'm going, I just don't want to do this. So I really relate to the thought. I think the solution is to schedule your rest. You do need to recuperate. You do need to re-energize, recalibrate, reassess, re-audit your life, and just fill your tank back up. So those are things that you need to do proactively. And obviously, don't overschedule and don't take a page out of my book. Get a better ability to say no. You know, a lot of times when I cover things with you on the show, these are things that I'm struggling with myself or have struggled with in the past, and I'm working through them. Or I can tell you how I worked through it and I became, you know, I overcame the ailment or the proclivity to do the wrong thing. And I wake up a lot of mornings, quite frankly, even to this day, where I want to pull those covers back over my head and cancel my day. But I don't. And let me tell you why I don't. Because every time you do that, you kill a part of yourself. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you're eroding your confidence. You're eroding your spirit. Remember this. I know I've said this before, but self-confidence is the process of keeping the promises you make to you. You know, you're always building a reputation with yourself. Are you somebody you can trust that does the things he or she says they're going to do? Or are you somebody just when they don't feel like it, willy-nilly, pull the covers back over your head and pack it in for a day? I do not recommend you do that. You are losing part of yourself every single time you do this. Remember this. The longer you stay somewhere that you know you don't belong, whether that's in bed all day long, or in a relationship you don't belong in, or in a job you don't belong in, or in anything you don't belong in, the longer you stay somewhere that you know you don't belong, the more you begin to believe you don't belong anywhere. You don't belong anywhere. That's a dangerous place to take yourself. Secondly, when you break promises to yourself, you erode that internal self-confidence that's so requisite in becoming happy and successful. So no, don't pull the covers back over your head. I do not agree with that advice. I'm sure whoever this person is or these people are that are dispensing this advice are well-intended people, but they're just wrong about that. You should schedule your rest. You should not over schedule like dummy I do all the time, but you should definitely keep the promises you make to yourself. Let me ask you a question. I want you to think about this very clearly just for a second. What if you committed to pick your children up from school? You probably do. Many of you that have children, you said, I'll see you at 3:00. And then just at some point during the day, you're just like, I don't have it. I don't want to do it. No way. Would you pull the covers back over your head and not pick your kids up? Of course not. Why? Because you love them so deeply. Maybe it's your parents. What if you had committed to take your mom or your dad to a doctor's appointment that was very important to them? And then as it got closer that day, you go, nah, I just don't feel it. I got to rest. I'm going to pull the covers back over my head. Would you ever do that to them? Would you do that to your child? Would you do that to your parents? Of course you wouldn't. Why? Because you love them. So the only reason you would do it to you, the symptom is I want to pull the covers back over my head. The disease is I don't love myself enough to treat myself with the respect and the love and the care that I would my children or my parents. That's the truth. That intention, that proclivity, that notion of giving in and breaking that promise with yourself, the root of it, that's the symptom. The symptom is fatigue. It's being down. It's being tired. It's not wanting to do your day. The disease is you don't love yourself enough to keep the promises you make to yourself. You would never do that to somebody you love. So don't do it to you. You got to love yourself enough to say, nope, I'm going to change my thinking. Let me tell you what I think when I have those mornings. And for the record, I have them often. I have them more than I should at this stage of my life. I have too many mornings where I wake up and I go, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this today. Maybe I can cancel a few of the meetings, right? Maybe I'll cancel all of them. Maybe I'll just pull these covers back over and try again tomorrow. That's not who I am. And when those things come up, let me tell you what I do. When I get to that point, here's what I say to myself. This is where most people give in. This is where most people quit. This is where most people settle. This is where most people rationalize. And I don't do that. This is where most people roll over. And I'm not most people. This is literally, Ed, where winning begins and losing ends. Or is this where losing begins, Ed Mylett, and winning ends? And winning's not going to end. And losing's not going to begin. And one of these little tiny decisions to give in, we know in our spirit and our heart, we've started to hurt our self-confidence. Self-confidence is a process of keeping the promises we make to ourselves. It's a reputation with ourselves that we can trust us. When we give ourselves our word, like we would to pick our kids up from school or take our parents to a doctor's appointment, when we commit to us, it's not the meetings that you have that day that you've committed to them. That's not who you're canceling on. You're canceling on you. You committed to you that you would do that appointment. You committed to you that you would get up at a certain time. You committed to you you'd drink a certain amount of water. You committed to you you'd make a certain amount of contacts. You committed to you you'd do something in a given day. Don't break those commitments you make to yourself. Keep the promises that you make to yourself, because every time you do that, part of your spirit, part of you, part of who you're capable of becoming dies with that decision out of weakness. Decide out of strength. And here's what you're going to find out. Once you get moving, once you get up, once you get in the flow, God sends you the energy you need. You're not going to die from overwork. You're not going to. But what you do need to do, this is an indication, maybe you need to get smarter about how you schedule your time. Maybe you need to get smarter about what I don't do well, which is saying no to people. You've got to keep these promises you make to yourself, and you've got to make it a game. Listen to me. You beat 90% of the people in your life by doing two things: showing up, giving it everything you've got, and being a good person. Let me say it again. You got to show up, and that's not enough. You got to do the second thing. The second thing is you got to give it everything you've got, and you got to conduct yourself as a good human being. When you do that, you beat 90+% of the people. That last 10%, that's a dogfight between the best of the best. And we'll see who's got what it takes. But you have this consistent process of your life of I show up when I say I'm going to. When I get there, I give it everything I've got. And I act in an ethical, moral fashion. I'm a good person. My intentions are good. You beat 90% of the world. Believe it or not, I tell my kids this all the time. I told my daughter this yesterday. I said, Bella Boo, we were sitting out in the backyard talking about life and what college and what she's going to do after. And I said, you just remember this. The older you get, the more you watch how human beings behave, you're going to find out winning is not nearly as difficult as you think, because most people can't even keep the commitments they make to themselves. Most people think showing up is all the battle. Showing up's half the battle. Showing up is not half the battle. Showing up gets you in the door. But then you got to give it everything you've got on a consistent basis. And that has to be your habit, your ritual, your identity is to give everything you got. I'm to the point now where if I were to pull those covers back over my head, I have violated everything I believe to be true about myself. I violated my love for myself, my belief in myself, and I'm not willing to do that to me, not the other people. By the way, I would never do that to another human being either, but I'm certainly not going to do it to me, because every time you give into there a little bit, you crack open the door for it to get a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger. And before you know it, you're walking through that door all the time. So I would say that that is terrible advice, with all due respect to people. And by the way, I actually think people that have never done anything outside of social media could probably still help people. I really do believe that. I think everybody has something to give and something to offer. But you have to be very careful giving in to the weaker side of you, giving in to really the devil in you instead of your higher angels, your higher calling. And there's going to be lots of days. Listen, if you're going to win, there's going to be lots of days where you just don't want to do it. And that's where winning begins and losing ends. Or if you give in, like I said, it's where losing begins, and it's insidious. And some people, by the way, have done pretty well for a number of years, and they get to a point and they go, no, I'm entitled now based on what I've accomplished, based on what I've been through, based on my story. I'm entitled now to cool it if I want to. You absolutely can, but that better be committed to everybody else. You better not be telling yourself and other people that you still want to climb the ladder. You still want to win. You still want to contribute. You can't do both. There's nothing wrong, by the way, at any point in your life, just going, that was enough. If it truly was enough, if you truly don't want more, if it's truly everything you need in terms of your emotions, your growth, your well-being, your wealth, whatever it is, your body, great. But if there's an incongruency between what you say you want and what you're doing and how you're behaving, that's a real problem. Every time you're doing something like that, you're either making a deposit towards your success, your peace, your well-being, or you're making a withdrawal. And the minute you allow yourself to make withdrawals prematurely, eventually that account becomes overdrawn. And it's very difficult to get out of it. And you have to start all over again. So why would you do this to yourself? You'd only do it if you didn't love yourself enough. So it's an act of love to keep your commitments. It's an act of caring for yourself. It's an act of nurturing yourself. And so I want you to look at that for a second. Why would I do that? I wouldn't do that to anybody else. Why would I do this to me? You would only do this to you if the truth is you don't love yourself. And oftentimes we can't love ourselves if we're not being ourselves. We have to be ourselves. And to be ourselves, we have to conduct ourselves and make the decisions in our life and take the actions that are consistent and congruent with who we say we are and where we're going. Now, I got to say this to you. I think it's paramount in your life that you give yourself a break if you've made these mistakes. I am not here to tell you that I have never done that before. I don't know that I've ever pulled the covers over my head for a whole day, but I've certainly pulled them back over my head longer than I should have. And one of the things I have struggled with all my life that many of you probably struggle with is I'm my own worst critic. I'm my own worst critic. I was talking to a young man the other day who's struggling in his life, and he's in therapy and just had some thoughts that really were pretty dark. And one of the things that, this is real subtle, but I want you to hear me on this last. One of the things of always analyzing yourself, there's a danger to that. People that are in therapy or that consume a lot of personal development content, it's healthy to want to grow and to want to get better. But there's a flawed thinking for many people that are in therapy or consume self-help or personal development or entrepreneur or wealth content. And here's the premise. I'm screwed up. I need to get fixed. I'm messed up. What are the things I need to do so I'm not messed up anymore? And when you do a lot of therapy or you consume a lot of personal development content, you can almost become too self-aware, too self-reflective, as opposed to just being and taking action. It's healthy to be self-aware. It's healthy to audit yourself. But there's a point, like everything, where too much of it becomes unhealthy. And when you're constantly in reflection, you're constantly evaluating yourself. You know, you do something like, well, that's just my pattern. That's just who I am. That's where I'm screwed up. That's what I'm trying to overcome. I better go to another event, another seminar, another this. And you really have built this premise that you are flawed, that you are screwed up, and that you need to fix you. But what if that's not true? What if that belief in and of itself that you've been convinced of is your very issue? That the very flawed thinking that somehow you're screwed up and a mess and need fixing all the time, and you're always evaluating the mistakes you make to the point where you repeat them, or evaluating why you do things or why you don't do things, or beat yourself up all the time. What if that's the real problem? And what if the truth is you're pretty damn amazing already? You're pretty awesome already, but you want to get better. You want to grow. See, at some point when I was, raised by an alcoholic dad and trying to turn my life around, I was always like, well, that's why I don't do things, or, that's what I got to fix about me. And I'm the one who always quits. I'm the one who always starts and stops. I'm the one who gets too upset. I'm the one who worries too much. I'm the one who lacks confidence. I'm screwed up. I'm in personal development because I need to fix me. You don't need to fix you. You're pretty damn amazing as you are. You're just trying to grow and get better. Very few of you need massive fixing. And it's this flawed belief that you're all screwed up. Because let me say something to you. If you're screwed up, we're all screwed up. The rest of us are just better at pretending we've got it figured out. You want to know the truth? You want to know the real truth? I've had the top people in the world on my show. I've been blessed to coach some of the top athletes, entertainers, business people, politicians on the planet. Some might even say I'm one of them. And let me tell you something. We're all just trying to get better and grow. We're all faking it a little bit. We're all acting like we got it together more than we do. We're all acting like we got more answers than questions. The difference is the majority of the people that you see succeeding, that you see growing, don't spend too much time in analysis of themselves, analysis paralysis. The vast majority of the people that are succeeding have the same issues you do, but there's a subtle difference they have inside, which is that I love me. I'm pretty amazing, but I want to grow. I want to contribute. I want to get better. I want to improve. That's different than I don't like me. I don't believe in me. I'm screwed up. I need to fix things in me. Boy, oh boy, that's hard to overcome. And let me tell you what's likely to happen. You'll spend your entire life trying to fix yourself. Entire life in analysis. Entire life coming from a place of lack, of almost self-disrespect, self-loathing, as opposed to self-belief and self-love. The premise is you must start with self-love and belief, and then do things that reinforce that love and belief by the way you behave. It's not good enough to go, I love myself, pull the covers over your head. All you got to do is love yourself. That's the other thing here on. So, just self-love, man. Enough self-love. No. You got to act in accordance and treat yourself with love, with respect. If you were in a relationship with another person, not enough to say I love you and then treat them in an unloving, disrespectful way. Both need to be required. You have to love them and believe in them, and then treat them with love and belief and caring and respect. So it's not enough just to love yourself. You have to love yourself and then be willing to treat yourself with the way you act, the way you decide, the way you think, with love and respect and admiration for you. But too many of you that are in the personal development consumption space think you're screwed up. If you are, we all are. You think there's human beings that don't wake up today and don't want to do their day, that aren't sad, that aren't down, that don't feel lost, that don't feel invisible, that don't feel valued? You don't think people like me are very aware of what their weaknesses are, their mistakes? Of course I am. I wish I wasn't so darn aware. But because I'm in this space, because I've done a lot of work on myself, here's the truth. If you asked me to make a list right now of 20 things that are pretty amazing about me, it would take me a while. But I can make you a list of a couple hundred about things I don't like right now. This is at 52 years old, the blessings of a lot of, great things in my life. But the truth of the matter is, underneath that, though, there's this belief that I'm pretty cool. I'm all right. And I'm going to grow and get better. I'm committed the rest of my life to the expansion of my being. I'm committed to the expansion of who I am as a spirit and a soul and a man. I want to give. I want to contribute. I want to love. I want to improve my life and improve other people's lives. I want more peace in my life and in the lives of other people. I want human beings to treat each other more kindly, a little bit more gently, a little bit more love, a little bit more candor, like what I'm doing with you right now. As a friend, I can tell you, more than likely, you aren't that screwed up. Not that much more than the rest of us. But because you think you are, you will spend your entire life trying to move away from who you are, as opposed to move towards who you're capable of becoming. I want to recommend to you that you stop that. And guess what? You won't want to pull those covers over your head anymore. You won't, because you're moving towards who you're capable of becoming. You're expanding your being. You're not where you want to be, but you're heading there. And that's where self-love begins. If you have this premise that I'm messed up, I'm screwed up, I'm so bad that I've got to fix me, you'll spend your entire life fixing these other things, because ships don't sink because of the water that gets around them. Ships sink because of the water that gets in them. This is an internal game. It's an internal game. You got to keep the water off the inside of your ship and believe that you're worthy of sailing to something great in your life and that you deserve it. And once you change that slight premise right there, that little premise, your whole world's going to change. And so, no, don't pull the covers over your head. Take them off, roll out of the bed, hit the floor if you have to, get moving, get up and take some type of action. And when you begin to take that action towards growing to the new you, towards keeping the commitments, towards treating yourself with love and respect by keeping what you said you were going to do in your daily schedule and doing the things you've said, you will find more and more days where you can't wait to get up as opposed to have to pull yourself out of that bed.
One of the things, in addition to all of this, that we talked about when we were down in Mexico was this notion of momentum. Here's what I do. I'm going to tell you what I do. I got all that, and I'm going to get to it. But right now I got momentum. And so I'm going to throw fuel on the fire. And I think this is what burnout is. So I've got momentum. I mean, you've had momentum in your career for freaking 25 years, maybe more, right? So, and by the way, that's the other lesson from Rob. He's had sustainability and consistency in the public world or in the entrepreneurial space. It is extremely rare to have duration of success or expansion of success like what you've had. And I was telling you, maybe we were both talking about, I'm like, yeah, but I got momentum. Yeah, but I got this. Yeah, but I got that. Yeah, but so I'm going to get to this, but that'll be like, I see it and you're right. And I'm going to do some of it. But what I'm realizing is that momentum was generated from a space of creativity, of rest, of a particular vibrational frequency. And I'm almost running on the fumes of it now rather than, so it will run out if I don't get back to this creative state where I'm in that present problem solving or present creativity state. So what would you say to someone who's listening is going, I got all that, but I'm finally got my business moving. We're scaling. We're finally getting this and the economy's changing and I got these other things coming. And so, man, for me to think about this theoretical stuff you're talking about is really good. But man, like supply chains going on, interest rates are going up. Unemployment may start to get higher again. Their national debt, and I just getting it going. So this is really good. And I'm going to remember this podcast for 3 years from now. What would you say to them?
It'll always be like that. It's never not going to be like that. It was the startup version when it was a startup. Oh, now it's working and there's more to even worry about. Oh, now it's like scale, and it's even, guess what? It's always like that. Gosh. So if you don't build a harmonious system, your goal is to lead with harmony. If you don't build harmony in your system from the very beginning, you won't have harmony when you find the success, right? And this is why I preach designing life and business at the same time. Yeah. So when you find success in your business, you find success in your life. And to me, in 2016, when I designed the plan for the way that I wanted to live, I designed a balanced life that would make me healthy first, and then I fit work into it. I created hundreds of millions of dollars with using a small percentage of my time living a fully balanced, harmonious life. All of the success that I have created since we sat down in 2018 was done from this beautiful, peaceful place. I got better and better and better at being more efficient with my time and my energy, and got healthier and healthier, and my output got higher and higher and higher. And like all of the things that you can worry about that drive you down, you continue to clear them out to where you're only dealing with incoming stress rather than all these things that come in and then break you, right? Then you got to reevaluate all this stuff and do all this stuff again. But, that's my passion for, harmony over hustle. You know what I mean? Like you build a harmonious existence and then get better and better at living in a harmonious way. But I want to say this to momentum, right? Is why it was so profound when we were in Mexico, because I'm it's the pursuit, right? Like I look at you as like, this is the ideal way of life, man. You want your island, you want to be flying on your jet, you want to head out to the golf course, you want to go to the beach house. Like it's really like, and now I look at the world through how much travel time it's involved in that, right? Forget about like, how could you possibly, do the show, do the book, do the podcast, and then still have time to get there. Oh, your kids are going to college. And like, I see the strain in sort of the use of time just in the structure. And so then I know you have more than enough money to live peacefully and happily. I know that your mission is really more on like, how can I reach people and impact people? And when you say momentum, it's like, man, I as the world was changing, then as I was changing, I saw an opportunity to share my voice on social media. Then I saw an opportunity to share my voice on a podcast. Then now I got momentum. Now it's like, now I'm like, so many more people want to talk to me, so many more opportunities. I got momentum. Now it's like, I want to make a book that impacts people and what it is. Oh, now I got even more momentum. Like, oh, what about this television show? Like, I saw that as like, man, I know what that's like. Yeah. Right. And to me, I also know that, boy, man, you can get caught up in that and trapped by that momentum.
Listen close, everyone.
Yeah. If you don't understand sort of the second and third order consequences of capturing that momentum.
Yep. Let's stay on this. I won't say what it is with you. Yeah. But because we don't want that. But there's been some significant opportunities come your way. Yeah. Some things that could have been, you think your brand's big now, you're like really different. I'm talking about a public brand. And when those things came your way, you declined. And you know what I'm talking about, right? We won't get into what those things were, but you have learned to say no because your decision-making process has a process. And I think one thing I want to say to everybody that I think Rob has that I don't, that I'm developing because I know him, is a process and a philosophy through which I make decisions rather than just emotionally. Because I will, if you let me, I'll just keep helping more and more and more people with no process to make the decision, no evaluation of what the consequences are, and no evaluation of what maybe looks like I'll help more people will cost me, deplete the energy that could have done it in a more efficient and productive way. So you have also learned to decline, to say no to different things in your life. And I think that's probably something everyone should know. Yeah.
And look, it's one of those things that you could read it in every single personal development book. Got to learn to say no. You know what I mean? And we know it as guys who lived out on the edges of saying yes to everything. Right. Because, the early process for me is like, oh man, this might be the one. Oh, this might be the one. Oh, wow, this might be the one. And the problem was I hadn't defined what is the whole. And once I finally defined what the whole was, and now I'm like, and I refer to it as like the human why, where we all have the same why. We want to live a harmonious, high quality life. Yeah. Right. And so you have to define what that is for you. And for me, that was how I used my time, the type of things that I did, and ultimately the amount of money I had, where I invested that money, and what that money did for me, and the lifestyle that I lived. I had a certain way of living that I wanted, that I connected to my identity, that I needed to create enough wealth that would provide me that lifestyle in a sustained manner forever before I would be truly harmonious. Right. And when I finally did that, right, and I defined it and I built the plan backwards, and when I finally got to there, I changed. I changed because I now had this extraordinary security, right? And that security now allowed me to get even more efficient with my time, make even more decisions that are based on, is this going to affect my energy? Like, and continuing to build my life around what gives me energy, and anything that takes energy, anything that slightly takes it, address it and get rid of it, create a system or a solution to solve it, or just completely get it out of your life, and now you will never compromise, especially doing something that's just for money or some higher level of fame, if you will.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to disrupt the harmony that I've created because it's unnecessary. I am as happy and balanced as a human being could be. I am excited to continually evolve into my limitless potential in a controlled manner that is done on a consistent basis of joy.
Yeah.
Because what I realized is, well, man, what is happiness? Well, happiness is really just consistent joy. And when you go from day after day after day, where thing after thing after thing is filled with joy and an extended period of time, that's when you're feeling what it feels like to be truly happy all the time.
When you listen to him, everybody, this is a dude from Ohio, was a skateboarder. And now look at this. I mean,
the guy who quit high school.
Yeah, right.
Look, you keep in mind this. I didn't even understand personal development or even read until I met my wife.
Incredible.
who was like super into personal development.
Yes,
and like
yes,
I read Think and Grow Rich back then, and it like was like, whoa, like I had read it when I was younger, but it was like the beginning of unlocking like what is the human potential. And then my mind thinks in this sort of systems way, and I just keep, as I'm living it and finding the success in life that I envisioned and planned 5 years earlier and are realizing it, I'm doing it while I'm thinking about how one day I can share it. Yeah. So it's almost like this meta process of you're learning lessons, thinking of how they integrate together, and then how you can articulate this in an easy to understand way that you can share with people one day. It's this interesting process I've been in.
It's really deep what you just said. So one thing I've begun to do, I did a lot in my entrepreneurial life, but I didn't do it in my personal life. So in my entrepreneurial life, I was always like, well, we need a process or a system for that. Because nothing can be related just to personality or emotion. So in all my entrepreneurial ventures, we need a process or a system for that. It wasn't until really you and I connected that like, no, you're like, that's what my life is. So everybody listening to this or watching, you got to ask yourself this. Do you have a process or system for that? Because if it's not a process or a system, it's probably not going to be sustainable over a duration. You have to have a process or a system. You probably could have been some type of engineer in another lifetime, I think, because you do think systematically and process-wise. But I think all of you, if you're trying to extract things you need to ask yourself is, do you have a process and a system for it? Is there one? Because if there isn't, you need one. From your time, from your family stuff, from your entrepreneurial, your part of your life. I've never said this out loud because I forgot. And we were walking about 100 yards from here. I said, hey, man, let's take a walk, because my sister and our family was there. And we started to take a walk. And I was about to get the words out of my mouth. I was going to go, hey, man, you got anything for me? I couldn't say the words. I swear to you, brother. Instead, I said, hey, man, how long are you going to stay at this shitty job? And he goes, what? He was making like $200,000 at the time. I said, you should come to work with me. And I remember it was like an out-of-body experience. It was completely not why I went there, completely not the reason I took the walk with him. And for some reason, I couldn't get my being to ask him for this job. Instead, I recruited him to come to work for me. And 2 days later, he quit that job, came to work with me, and he still works in my firm to this day. That happened right on this beach, and I completely forgot about it till we were sitting here right now.
Dude, that's cool. That's cool. Kenny?
I love that story because you turned doubt, fear into faith.
Yeah, in an instant. And it's like sometimes that's just a calling on your heart, because he had running water, I didn't. He owned a house, I didn't. I had bankruptcy, or not bankruptcy, I never filed bankruptcy. I had foreclosure and repos. He didn't have any of that stuff. And I go, when are you going to quit that stupid job? Crazy that came out of my mouth.
I love it.
It's something you weren't planning on at all.
Not at all, bro. I went there to go with my hat in hand and say, help me.
Yeah.
Crazy. I just remember that right now.
That's a huge turning point.
Bro, massive.
That's probably the turning point.
Yeah, massive. It was the intervention they did and then that walk. And by the way, my brother-in-law's probably listening to this. He remembers it very clearly. I roped him into the business. He's been doing it now 25 years with me.
Dude, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. What else we got for Ed, guys?
All right. Sorry, I'm hogging the mic here. I got so much. With all your prodigious talents and your assets and the accomplishments you've done and the people you've influenced, you're kind of ostensibly at the top, right? People look at you and say, Ed Mylett, he's at the top, the pinnacle, the zenith. He's achieved it. He's done. What keeps you hungry? you told a story about Ray Ray, right?
Yeah.
The fight that your dad made you go have with Ray Ray. Who or what is your Ray Ray today? What mountain do you have yet to climb?
Yeah. Well, I don't feel like I'm at the top. I mean, until you say something like that, I don't walk around every day going, "Oh, wow, I'm at the top." Well, this is incredible. So I don't ever think that. I'm not gonna give you the stuff that's like. I'll just tell you, I still am afraid to be broke. I mean, there's things I want to do, and I can tell you what they are, but like, I'm not going to tell you that I don't have any fear about like that I need to keep working hard for this not to go. And I don't want that kind of boogeyman to go away. I kind of dig him. I've talked with Dwayne Johnson about this. I've talked with different really top athletes about this. Like, there's a little bit of a fear that it could go away. And that's not unhealthy to me. It keeps me sharp. So
It keeps you hungry.
It does keep me hungry. And so, I mean, it's nonsense. I own this place free and clear. I own my jet free and clear. I own the island free and clear. I own my desert house. I own 2 other oceanfront houses down the street, free and clear. Like, there's no debt, right? I have no debt. And that's not something to brag about. Sometimes debt is really, really good, right? A lot of people made a lot of money with debt the last few years. But there's this thing in me, man, that's like, hey, I still want to prove something. And then the other part of me is like, I'm addicted to growing. Like, I'm addicted to it. You were talking about earlier, we were just getting ready to record. You're like, I can't sit still. I have a hard time sitting still, and I need to learn to sit still. Yeah, you probably do a little bit, but like, I wasn't born to like sit around and watch Netflix. I like doing it a little bit, but like, I was born to do something great with my life. So were you guys. Like, I kind of know that. And great isn't like every day I'm making millions of dollars. It's like, I care about people. Like, I want to help people. Like, I love that y'all were here in my home. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted you to come here today. I didn't want to do it in some studio or whatever. I want you to be with my family and in my house. So I think that's part of it. And then I just don't, I don't have this muscle where I'm like, it's not for me like a destination. It's like a process. It's the process of growing. It's the process of meeting my other self. I kind of like meeting the new me. Like, my daughter is the one who picks on me, and we were at dinner for my 50th. And she goes, "Daddy, are you in a midlife crisis?" And I'm like, "What? Why would you say something like that?" She goes, "Come on, like Instagram, you're taking selfies all the time. I think you're dyeing your beard now, I'm pretty sure." She was ripping on me. And I said,
Ed, are you dyeing your beard?
Yeah, no, I can't admit to that. I can't confirm or deny that. My son's in there laughing, and so is my wife, because they know this conversation. And I said, "Yeah, I am." But I said, "Bella, I was in a young life crisis. And you know what? If you come back in 5 years, I'll be in a 55-year-old crisis. I'm in a crisis every year to be a different me by the end of that year, to be a better me." And I said, "Bella Boo, all the cells in your body pretty much regenerate themselves every year. Your lung tissue's about every 6 months. Like, there's all parts of you physically regenerating themselves and becoming new. Shouldn't the inside part of your spirit and your mind become new?" And I said, "So yeah, I'm in a midlife crisis, and I'll be in an old life crisis too. I don't want to be the same person. I already lived that life. I was already that guy. I want to be the next one."
Yeah.
Now, all the same character, all the same principles, but living a better expression of them. Right? I've already expressed this version of me. The world's already got that. I don't want to change my principles or my character or what I stand for, but I want to express it better. I want to express it differently. Maybe that sounds like one of those podcast answers, but it's like totally legit. It's actually what I think about.
Ed, there's a lot of high-profile people, guys like Jocko, guys like Andy Frisella.
Love both of them.
Amazing guys.
Yep.
They're getting pressure right now since the world seems to be turning to shit in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I'm not a doom and gloom guy, and I don't like to talk about that, but they're getting pressure to get into leadership positions.
Yeah.
Is politics anything that could ever happen to you? The world needs a guy like you, and I'm going to sit here and say, I'm not going to say you should,
Is that
but I'm not.
endorsement heavy?
Yeah.
Well, that's
It's an official-
if Ed ran for anything,
Yeah.
king of whatever, I mean, he'd have my vote. But are you completely opposed to that, or is that if the world needs it?
I would say pretty much opposed. Because I've had some heat to do that recently from people who help people do that. I think if I thought like that expression, I think if I thought I could do more to help people doing that than what I'm doing right now,
right,
then I would do it. But I think there are people probably that would rather go raise all the money that I don't want to have to go raise to do it. Although I wouldn't need that much. I could use most of my own. Right now, no. And I don't think that... Oh, shoot. Well, I got 2 votes, me and you. I think not right now, and I don't think probably I will. But if the time came and I felt like, hey, man, I could really make a difference and no one else could do it, then maybe that I would. I would not run for something small or local. I would run for something national if I did it. But I don't know that I have the temperament to keep to say the political things that are required. That's why I admire some of the people recently that have gone into politics that are like, I'm going to tell you what I really think. I think both the guys you listed would be wonderful dudes to carry that baton. I'd love to support people and help them with it as well. I can help them write their speeches.
Yep, absolutely.
That kind of stuff. But I can't say that I would never do it. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, for sure, no way, no how, impossible. And my wife definitely doesn't want me to do it. But there's an opening. I mean, if it really was needed and I could help, I might do it.
Hey guys, when you think about businesses growing beyond their forecast, you could think about something like Feastables by Mr. Beast, right? Or even a legacy business like Mattel. And obviously you think about the product they have to have and branding and the influence and all that other stuff. But what most people don't think about enough is the behind the scenes. And the behind the scenes of businesses, things like making things easier for shoppers, buying, etc., is really simple. And for millions of businesses, including mine, that business is Shopify. I don't even know what I would do without them. When it comes to my books, my gear, basically everything we do goes through Shopify, just like Mr. Beast or Mattel or many of the other big brands that you know. So nobody does it better than Shopify, number one checkout place on the planet. And the not so secret Shop Pay, which boosts conversions by 50%. All these things come only with Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Mr. Beast gets with Feastables at Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial period at shopify.com/Mylett, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Mylett to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Mylett. So, hey guys, it's been said that we really have two ages. There's our true age and our biological age. So a medical test can show you your biological age and it can show you if your body's aging prematurely. Better nutrition has been shown to help reverse one's bioage. My hope of living longer and especially healthier is why I take Field of Greens. Field of Greens is an organic superfood and a vegetable drink unlike any other. It's serious nutrition. Listen to this. Field of Greens was approved for a university study that doctors may believe help lower your biological age. That generally means better health. Each fruit and vegetable in Field of Greens was selected by their doctors to help support vital bodily functions like heart, liver, kidneys, your metabolism and even your immune system. Only Field of Greens is backed by this better health promise. If in your next doctor's visit, your doctor doesn't tell you that your health is improved, Field of Greens, they'll refund your money. Join me for better health and 15% off plus free shipping. Visit fieldofgreens.com and use promo code ED. Fieldofgreens.com, promo code ED. Good to be with you, Brennan.
Man, I'm so excited to be talking about personal development with you because every time I do, I get fired up.
Same here.
And if I think of something you're known for, especially when we see you on stage or you're on your podcast, you have a certain kind of confidence and energy and presence that I think draws people in, but also builds that kind of trust and assurance that you kind of have it. And I'm going to guide you. I'm going to help you through this.
You have it too. We both reflected a little bit differently. But even when we started today, when you came on the camera, I said, I'm instantly smiling when I'm with you. And that's because you radiate that type of confidence as well. So it's such a great topic because even when I work with athletes, like when we're done today, I'm working with one of my UFC fighters and people say, what do you really work with? Is it their visualizations? And I do those things. But even with the top of the top athletes that I work with, the number one thing they struggle with is their confidence level. And it's building it back, gaining the momentum of it again, remembering where it came from initially. And I think one of the reasons so many people, and even myself to some extent, the last couple of years lost a little bit of it is our promises we were capable of keeping to ourselves were taken from us. So I see self-confidence almost like it's a reputation that you have with yourself. And if you have a reputation with yourself where you keep the promises that you make to you begin to stack those promises on top of each other. You develop what we call self-confidence. When I have not held self-confidence, if I look back 90 days or 120 days or even a year, at some point I stopped keeping the promises I made to myself. And they can be small things like what time I get up in the morning. How much water am I going to drink every day? How many contacts am I going to make in my business? How many pages of a book am I going to read? And those things seem very small. Even making my bed, they seem very small. But when you start stacking up these little things, like, I do the things I tell myself I'm going to do. Yes. And when the stuff happened the last couple of years, our opportunities to deliver on promises we made to ourselves were, for the most part, taken away from us. The normal routines and habits we had about going to a gym, even as simple as things like that, or even contact in business, going to an office every day. And so these things changed. And then we wake up 90 days or a year later and we go, I don't really feel like I've got what I had before.
Yeah.
And so I always go back, even with the athletes I work with, or even myself, where can I begin to build baseline self-confidence? Baseline self-confidence is keeping these promises. Superhuman self-confidence, no pun intended, is right behind me if they're watching the video. It's keeping the promises you make to yourself and then doing one more. So if I say I'm going to make 10 contacts in a day, I make my 10, I do it one more. Now I've not just kept the promises, I've elevated the standard, because in our life, you know this, I believe we don't get our goals most of the time. What delivers on our goals are the standards we set. And so the higher the standard, the deeper our self-confidence goes. So one of the keys for me has been rebuilding the structures around which I keep the promises I make to me. And the duration in which I do it is causing the depth of the self-confidence level that I have. So for me, it starts with basic habits and routines and things that I commit. This may seem really small. My daughter, one of the commitments I've made to myself is I will talk to my daughter every day. She's away at Clemson in college. You think, what does this have to do with business? It has everything to do because I'm a really busy dude. It's easy for me to just text her. I actually call her. Hey, Bella Boo, it's Daddy. I did it this morning. Except now I do it and I do it one more time a day. Now I'm like a superhuman confident dad, because how many dads are doing that, right? And I also, and then I'll let you jump in because I'm curious for you. I actually believe there's a part of us that goes, I'm getting what I deserve. I'm getting what I deserve. The external results I'm producing have a lot to do with internally what I believe I'm worth and what I believe I deserve. Yes. And if you're like me, I don't naturally have a proclivity to believe I'm worth a lot. I wasn't raised with a bunch of praise and belief being poured into me. I'm very self-critical. When I make a mistake, I'm my own worst critic. Even to this day, I have to really battle that. And even when I'm winning sometimes, candidly, I'll be vulnerable. Is this a fluke? You know, like, am I fooling everybody right now? And so this stuff we're talking about has been fundamental in my life to changing my life, is me believing, man, I'm doing things most people aren't willing to do. I deserve to get stuff most people aren't going to end up getting. And so for me, it's the beginning of keeping those promises you make to yourself. And then I've got some other stuff too when we come back to it. But do you relate to that? Is that part of your recipe too?
1,000%. And I think researchers find that, like, they might use other language. They might be, hey, that's keeping personal commitment. Same thing. Hey, that's integrity. That's self-trust. And the language I use for that, that's just congruence. I say I'm going to do it. I do it. I was congruent. If I say I'm going to do it and I don't do it, I break that congruence. And the more breaks, then the more breaks in my psyche. The more breaks in my identity, the more breaks in my rhythm.
And I 1,000,000% agree with you on that. There is a rhythm, you know, some might call it a vibrational frequency or a rhythm to success. There's a rhythm to confidence. And when you're in that rhythm, the words flow a little bit different. People, places and things flow to you a little bit differently. And you have a rapport with yourself and with other people when you're in that rhythm. It's funny that you say it, because my son had to take a bunch of time off from golf. He had a knee injury and he lost that confidence and that rhythm. And even myself, when I've lost it, it's almost like, and you can be so close to the way you were before, but it's just not what it was. It's almost like, you ever be at a wedding and you watch that dude and he's got the moves, right? But he's dancing to the lyrics, not the beat of the music. So it's
that's me?
Yeah, well, that's just what I've heard. Okay. but it's that lack. And that's why you can say, man, I'm saying the same things I was saying 6 months ago, but I'm not producing the same result. It's that rhythm is off. You're dancing to the lyric, not the beat of the music. And there's a beat to it. And I think you're 1,000,000% right about that, Brennan. And I think once you find that groove, it's like, you know, momentum is a magnifier. Momentum is a rhythm. Momentum can take a person who's pretty average and ordinary like me, and you start getting enough momentum on enough rhythm, you're like, whoa, you have these superhuman things you begin to achieve. What's important about what you're also saying is that here's what's really important. Both of us are saying this is an internal game. It's not contingent on the external praise or even producing the result to generate confidence. In other words, the game I've set up isn't outcome driven, it's process driven.
Did you engage the process today as a win?
Yes, for me, it's like all I can control my attitude, my activity. Everybody knows that. but I'm linking that to my confidence, not the production of the result. If your confidence is constantly contingent on the result, you'll be chasing your tail most of the time. You'll be chasing your tail. So it's an internal game. It's also not, I don't need the affirmation of another person to get self-confidence. Self-confidence means it has to do with one's self. I'll give you another big key for me. And this really flipped things. I've talked to you about these conversations I had with Wayne Dyer. And a lot of times my confidence is not even predicated on my ability. Because there may be somebody smarter than me or better than me, a better speaker, a better marketer, a better whatever. So when I walk into, even today, I'm confident today. Let me tell you why. I give myself credit for my intentions. So my confidence, I've linked to my intent to serve, my intent to do good, and not necessarily my ability to. So even when I speak, I mean, I'm a pretty good speaker, right? But I'm not out there going, I'm the world's greatest speaker. My confidence comes from, I've prepared, I've kept the promises I made to myself and my intentions.
Yes.
Not enough precious human beings say, I'm a good woman. I'm a good man. I deserve to be successful. I'm walking into this business meeting and I intend to do good. I intend to help these people. I should be confident.
Yes.
They think they've conflated, go, no, but I'm not as good as I need to be. That's not where your confidence should be linked to, or even the outcome. Link it to your intentions, because that's something you know to be true about you. I could always go back, Brendan, no matter where I am in the world, no matter what I'm doing. The one thing I do believe about me is I'm a good man. I intend to serve. I intend to contribute.
Yes.
I generate a tremendous amount of confidence in my intentions, not necessarily my ability or the result. And I think this is something that's never taught in the self-confidence world. That, listen, your intent matters. You should generate tremendous strength from your intentions. Yet most good people just sort of, they slough it off. They don't give themselves any credit for their intent. In other words, they think, oh, everybody intends to serve. Everybody's good. Nah. Not so fast.
And worse, you lose it. You lose it sometimes, meaning people lose the time or the practice of setting the intention. So even if they are good, they don't even set the intention, so they can't give themselves credit for it. So you'll love this little psychological trick. We call it a doorway trigger. Doorway trigger is anytime you enter a doorway, you say something to yourself. So mine is, when I walk through a door, I always say, I enter this room a happy man, ready to serve.
By the way, the trigger thing is huge. We should talk a little bit more about that too, but because you can make deposits when you are confident that you can make withdrawals from later. So let's talk about that in a second. But like, for example, this fighter that I'm going to work with later today, she has a very major fight coming up. And one of the things, I just want her to have a simple self-talk that gives her confidence. And actually, we've been working on it now for 3 months leading up to this fight. And here's what it is. I find a way to win. I find a way to win. I find a way to win. And I make her repeat it to me with different emphasis. So she'll say things like, I find a way to win. I find a way to win. She'll say, I find a way to win. And then other times I'll have her say, I find a way to win. And we emphasize this over and over and over. It becomes like an embedded command, if anybody knows any NLP stuff, right? But it's just self-talk that's repeated over and over again. And it's funny how the mind works. You begin to repeat this over and over again, it becomes a believable belief, and our mind moves towards what we're most familiar with. So if we're familiar with that thought, I tell you right now, in this fight, when it gets down to crunch time and she's in that, they call it deep water. When she's taken out to the deep water, she might be getting submitted and she's tired and she's going to come back to this. I find a way to win. And I believe what we believe to be most true, we end up producing long-term in our life. I just hope it shows up in the fight. But you're exactly right with the self-talk. I'm curious, do you do anything, because I do, when you to anchor a state when you have confidence so that you can make the withdrawal later? Do you do that? Like when you're really feeling it, do you do anything to create that trigger or that anchor?
Yeah. Mine's dorky and self-reflective. Like when I capture, I go, oh, I got it. And I'd write it down. And I tell myself, write it down. And go, because I know I'll forget that state or that moment, or even if I do myself physically anchoring, 10 minutes later, the emotion's gone. So I want to know, what was the aha? What was the breakthrough? Oh, I got it. And I write it down. So it's almost like a reward or a celebration or reflection. And to me, I have to write it down, partially because I had a brain injury way back in the day. So my memory and my cues aren't as easy to reflect like consciously. I remember it. I have to write it down. The other thing I just want to say and reflect, that coaching you're giving her is so great, because I've always defined confidence as the belief in one's ability to figure things out. My confidence is, I believe I can figure this out, which is another way of saying, I will find a way.
Yes.
It's literally the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I will find a way to win is I believe I can figure this out. I like yours better because a deeper level of commitment and adding the win to it. I think that's so important. But you mentioned you have something that you do.
Well, when I really feel something, this is maybe a little bit technical, but I think it's worth sharing for those that want to experience it. When I'm I think confidence is an emotion also.
Right.
So it's not only a thought, it's not only a state of being, but it's an emotion. And there is a neurochemistry to all of our emotions. And so when I am feeling particularly confident, this is just what most people don't ever do in their life. They don't take advantage of states they find themselves in so they can go back to them later, to your point about the trigger and the anchor. So when I am in a state of achievement, let's just say, or confidence, I like to just do something very simple physically that anchors that state in my body. It's not really dramatic either. It's kind of nerdy and dorky also. But for example, if I'm on the stage and it's being crushed, or I'm just feeling the flow in a podcast, or I'm in a beautiful moment with my daughter where I'm feeling particularly confident as a father, whatever it is. My daughter this morning, when I called, she called me back, Brendan. She's like, she had a major test today. Her and her roommate called and said, Dad, they're going to the test. Dad, we need words of wisdom. We need some motivation. My daughter, and by the way, it's bizarre to me at this stage of my life, bro, that my daughter now seeks this from me because I got eye rolls her entire teenage years when I'm giving her these same talks, right?
Circle of life right there. Absolutely.
Yeah, but so I started out, and she caught me off guard. So the first thing I said was like, okay, Dad, thanks. You know, it was like, but then I kind of crushed a couple other recommendations that I gave her, right? And when we were done, I'm like, that was a good dad moment right there. I crushed that as a dad. And so when I'm feeling a particular level of confidence, I'll anchor it with just some type of physical move. So like it might be, for me, it's like a finger snap. I'm on the stage, I'm crushing, boom. And what I'm doing is I'm depositing that confident state into my neurochemistry. Yes. I'm making a deposit. And so when I'm feeling it, I deposit it. With my athletes, you just hit a home run, you better, when you're running around those bases, give me the finger snap or slap your chest or pull on your ear or tug on the helmet. You better anchor this amazing state. Now it's anchored. And the more we repeatedly do the same physical, simple move in a particular state, those are deposits. Then when I need to make a withdrawal and I'm feeling a bit insecure when I'm about to walk out on stage, bam, finger snap, puts my neurochemistry back in that state again. Yes. You can even tell as I'm saying this to you now, my energy levels change.
You're opening. Yeah.
I'm opening. And so for some people, that's too much. But for a lot of people, it's like, that's it. When I'm feeling good, do something and do the same thing repeatedly, whatever it might be. That's why you'll watch a lot. You can learn so much from an athlete. You watch an athlete get out of the batter's box and adjust their batting gloves, or they tap home plate the same 2 times. Right. Or the golfer does the same 2 practice
pattern of a rhythm. Yeah.
Right. Or Tom Brady, let's go. Or Peyton Manning, Omaha, whatever it might be. These are verbal or physical triggers that are from previous self-confident peak performance states that they're now calling on now when they need them most.
Right.
And so that's that's the science part of self-confidence. The other stuff is sort of the art form of it. One of the things that I'm still sort of surprised by when I work with people or they come to events is lack of clarity. And if I would add on top of that is a lack of specificity. So, you say, well, I want to lose weight. That you're not going to get a lot of self-confidence coming from that statement. Specifically, what does that mean? Is it pounds? Is it body fat? Is it a percentage? So clarity is specificity. And so I want to, I want to have a good year in business. I want to have my best month. What exactly, specifically does that mean? So that when you look at that board, there's specificity all over it. I almost think sometimes that building the muscle of setting specific outcomes and specific visual things is something people need to work on. For whatever reason, of all the things I'm not good at, that has never been a struggle of mine. I've never been vague. I've always really been very specific because I want to know whether I hit it or not. But that's what creates clarity. It's like if I'm looking at a golf hole, like we were talking about golf earlier, you and I off camera. If I'm an average player. So what I'm really trying to do, I was just talking about this weekend in a golf tournament. I'm trying to hit it on the green, which is a
Right.
big old 60-foot green, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm an amateur. And that's
Right.
why I lack confidence.
Yes.
The truth is, a professional player is trying to hit it to a spot on the green that's about 6 inches wide.
Right.
Right. And that specificity creates clarity for them in the shot. And
It's a
so
target.
they're far better than me because the target is so specific.
Yes.
And even if they were to miss, they're going to be much closer than me because they were so much more specific in their focus than I was with my wide focus or lack of focus. Some people that are worse than me at golf aren't even trying to hit the green. They're just trying to hit the ball. Right.
Right.
And that's a metaphor for life. And so you're 100%. And one other thing that also creates clarity is this notion that I've been here before, meaning you were like, take a speech. You're exactly right. And I know you're one of the greats of all time. You've walked out there in your mind before you've gone there. You walked out for this podcast before you've gone there. You project yourself into that space and see it happening to the point, even when I'm selling, I even picture them hugging me at the end and thanking me. It's that level of specificity. It's that level of, so that when I get there and that rhythm starts to happen, it's familiar. See, I don't want to end up in, if I can help it, I want to minimize the unfamiliar. And so if I projected, I prepared. A lot of my self-confidence comes from the fact that I prepared and I've been there. In my mind, I've been there before. So that helps create clarity for me. And then I'll give you one more thing to kick around. You know, it's surprising to me, no matter what your faith is. So if you're a Christian or a Muslim or Jew or Hindu, or you practice Buddhism, or maybe you believe like I do, and I'm a Christian, but also I believe in energy. I believe in the quantum, right? Yeah. And people say to me, I believe there's an all-powerful source, or I'm a follower of Jesus. And it's interesting to me, whatever their belief system is, that they don't derive any self-confidence personally from it.
Interesting.
Like, why would you not link your faith, whatever faith it is you practice, to your confidence? Like, as a Christian, if you're a Christian, like, I'm the son of the King of Kings. His DNA is running through my veins. Why in the world would that not give me some dadgum confidence?
Right.
Think of the quantum, and you can plug into an all-knowing knowledge field. Shouldn't you get a little confidence from that? So it's interesting to me how people go, well, I have a lot of faith. I'm in the synagogue or the mosque, or I'm at church on Sunday. But somehow Monday morning when business starts, I'm alone now.
Right.
You're alone now? You're not alone now. Your faith tells you and informs you otherwise. And so you start having the combination of anchors and triggers, keeping the promises you make to yourself, your intentions, your clarity, all these things we're talking about. And then you stack on top of that, I have a faith in something bigger than me that's with me all the time. I ought to have some boldness and confidence solely stemming from that. So many of you that have faith, why are you checking that at the door when it comes to your relationships, your body, your business, your money? That should be centerpiece of your self-confidence. Should be the most important piece of your self-confidence. And I know it is for you.
I love it. My favorite words in my faith, in terms of Christianity, is he precedes me. It's like he precedes me, like this is already worked out.
Yes.
Somebody already worked it out. Now I need to find my way through. I need to figure out a way to win. I need to, hopefully figure it out.
Yeah.
But where it's going to go, I have trust.
Since we're being completely real, my people that see me speaks backstage are like, so I saw you do your move where you're snapping your fingers. But what's the last thing you'll see me do? I actually get on my knees and I pray very quickly, because that's where my real confidence comes from. Here's what it's done for me. I've never said this to somebody, and maybe you and I can kick this around the last few minutes. I think also we put a pressure on ourselves. Like, am I going to make the right decision or the wrong one? Am I going to say the right thing or the wrong thing? And I have found in my life, and I have this rooted in my belief system, that when I've come to a place where I have to yield or make a decision, I don't necessarily think most of the time. Now, there is right and wrong in life. We all know that. I'm not talking about ethics or morals. I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about if something goes one way or the other. I've really built this belief system that I'll make either one work. So if I decide this way and I might be wrong, I'll find a way to make that work. And if I go that way and I was going to be right, I'll make that one work. There's this notion that's sort of put into us when we're children, like good or bad, right or wrong. And we start feeling this pressure, like, what if I don't say the right thing? What if I don't do the right thing? The truth is, in life, most of the time, that path, that journey, both can lead to bliss. Both can lead to success. It might be a different path. It might not be, to your point, on your schedule. It might be on God's schedule. And if you have a God that's a pro that created the entire universe, you're probably going to be okay no matter which turn you take. And that gives you a confidence to go, I'm going to call the shot with the most information, with the best of my ability, but I'm going to make either one of these work. That's real confidence.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to make either one of these works, because the truth is, whichever one you take, path A or B, turns out good or bad. Most people go, well, one's going to be good and one's going to be catastrophic and it's going to be terrible.
Right.
And I go, well, the truth is, right or wrong, the next step actually is exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
If you fail, the next step demands that you summon the best of who you are to handle it. If you win, guess what? The next step is going to demand that you summon the best of who you are, no matter what. So I always tell people, you want confidence? It's easy. Know your job. You have one job. Every day, summon the best of who you are to really work life and at the same time trust life or God, I think is one of the ultimate secrets of the most successful people I've ever met.
I 1,000,000% agree. And I think actually today's conversation is sort of evidence of everything we said. We both set out with an intention to serve today. There's been this incredible rhythm between the different things that we've, said here together. And if I'd add one last thing to it, it's also that you could take on an identity of yourself too, which is that I'm kind of a learner. I'm curious. I was curious where this was going to go today, and I learned. And when I come to these decisions or these experiences I'm going to have, at a minimum, I'm going to learn something about myself, about how to do it better. Even with an athlete, I keep going back to these examples, but I'll tell them that at bat, you ground it out, but you learned this guy's curveball does this. You learn. So the next at bat, you're more prepared for what he's going to bring to you. Yes. And so this notion of I'm learning, I don't know, for me, it reduces the pressure. It increases the curiosity. And it also, I'm almost always winning if I'm learning.
Yes.
I'm almost always winning if I'm learning. And so I've sort of adopted in my life this notion that I'm curious and I'm going to learn. It's going to be an experience I'm going to learn. I found that I actually produced the outcome that I actually had on my board, to your point, for clarity, far more regularly when I'm not so addicted to the outcome and everything I want to do, because addiction to outcome can rob you of confidence. But when I am committed to the process that you've described earlier, and also this notion that I'm going to gather a better me at the other side of this, because I will have learned something about me, the circumstances, the environment, how to do it better the next time, whatever that might be. Get a lot of confidence when I approach things that way.
You know what I want to start out? I want to start out with Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
So Alan's worked with everybody from people like Kobe to Kevin Durant to Steph Curry and many, many companies and business leaders as well. But you tell this great story, I think it's around a Nike camp or something like that with Kobe Bryant, that just blew my mind, that I think just personifies greatness and high standards. So tell us that story.
Sure. Well, I mean, it absolutely changed my life. So I had a chance to meet Kobe in 2007. It was the first ever Nike Skills Academy, and they were building a series of camps around their signature players, who, of course, at that time, Kobe Bryant was atop of that mountain, and flew out to Los Angeles here, La La Land, to work that event. And I had a chance to watch one of his really early morning workouts, which for those
legendary,
absolutely legendary. And for folks that are familiar, those have a start time of 4 a.m. And of course, the most impressive part of that is you're talking about a guy that had already reached the mountaintop. He's already a surefire Hall of Famer, multimillionaire 10 times over, NBA champion, MVP. I mean, and he's still up in the off season putting in that type of work. And I remember being, as a younger coach, being shocked at the simplicity of what he was doing. I mean, he spent the first 30 minutes without even having a ball in his hands. He was doing basic pivoting drills and footwork drills. And his workout lasted for a couple hours. And I remember vividly at the end of this workout going up to him and saying, Kobe, I don't get it, man. You're the best player in the world. Why are you doing such basic drills? And I'll never forget it. He gave me a really friendly smile and a wink, but he said in a really serious tone, why do you think I'm the best player in the world? Because I never get bored with the basics. And that changed my life. That changed my perspective. You know, I went into that workout expecting to see some sizzle, some sexiness, you know, some flash. And he just was routinely drilling down on the basic fundamentals. And, you know, ever since that day, that has been my core philosophy for performance, is never getting bored with the basics and working on mastery of the fundamentals during the unseen hours.
Wow. Really good, bro. Like, we're right there already. We're already getting into the good stuff. So,
absolutely.
Because I think there's a thing in leadership that's leadership fatigue. We get tired of saying the same things over and over again, even though we should. I think in business and life, there's just a fatigue of the mundane, of doing the things that actually work, and we move away from them. And sometimes the greatest people in the world just don't allow themselves to suffer from the fatigue of the repetition.
Yeah.
True?
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head. That's incredibly insightful. I think we can readily acknowledge that the basics, if you allow them to, can be monotonous, can be mundane, and can get boring unless you have that type of approach to them. And even if you don't love doing the basics, you need to love what the basics produce for you, which is basically creating that foundation to which the rest of the house is built. And guys like Kobe, they never leave them. And that's the key. And the beautiful part is, it's not saying that you don't also graduate to do more advanced techniques and so forth. It says you never leave the basics.
Yeah.
And
are they like the building blocks to allow you to do the great things, right? Like, they're the fundamental things, the footwork in basketball. It's the communication or presenting skills in business. It's the vision stretching capacity of a leader. It's the generosity and kindness and gentleness that requires from a parent that we have to do over and over again and show that love, right? It's the repetition we get bored of. I don't know who said it first. Maybe it was Tony Robbins. I'm not sure. I say it all the time. Sometimes I think I said it first. I don't know. But the complexity is the enemy of execution. That oftentimes we try to complicate things in our life and then we have an inability to execute. True?
Absolutely. Simple is smooth, and then smooth is what gets it done. And and of course, in a game like basketball, for your listeners that follow, it's footwork, it's shooting mechanics, it's how well you handle the ball. You know, we all know those are the basics. So the first step for anyone trying to improve performance in any area of their life, first of all, is to admit that the basics work. But then second, it's having the humility to acknowledge that doing the basics every day is not easy. But what you have to do is get crystal clear on what are the basic fundamental building blocks of whatever it is you're trying to improve. If you're trying to improve your marriage, what are the handful of fundamentals that will go into a nurturing relationship? If you're trying to be a more influential and impactful executive, what are the handful of things that and you could go down the list, whether you want to be a musician, an artist, anything in between. You have to get crystal clear on what those basics are, and then you have to commit towards working towards them relentlessly during the unseen hours to work towards mastery.
Unseen hours. That's the other part of the story that fascinated me. So as I understand it, you ask him the day before, can I come watch this workout? And he goes, 4:00. And it wasn't 4 p.m., it was 4 a.m.
Yes.
But I'll let you share this, but you're like, well, I'm going to impress this guy and get there early. So there's a 4 a.m. workout, but what happens? Tell them what happens when you get there and you get there early.
Well, yeah, and I arrived today early because I believe in making a good first impression, and I believe that getting places early is a sign of respect to the person that you're going to meet. Right. And, you know, as a young coach, I'm thinking, what could be better than me leaving my mark and impressing Kobe? So if he thinks he's working out at 4, I'm going to be waiting for him at the gym at, 3:30 a.m., and he's going to be blown away. And instead, I arrive at the gym and can see the lights already on, can hear sneakers squeaking and a ball bouncing from the parking lot. I walk in at 3:30 in the morning. He's going through a warm-up. He doesn't even count that as part of his workout.
Gosh, that's
so
good.
He's doing that at 3:30 before his workout actually started with his trainer at 4. And
bro, that's crazy.
And he went on for a couple hours, again, sticking to the basics and just drilling down. And, he's one of those guys that really understands the concept. If you want to perform well in front of millions, then you have to be willing to put in millions of reps when no one else is watching, which is how we define the unseen hours. And that actually I stole from my friend Drew Hanlon, who's an NBA skills coach, who he's the one that came up with the term unseen hours. And I conveniently borrowed that and I use it everywhere because I really believe that success in anything, even the success of your podcast is predicated on the due diligence and the research that you do on each guest before the mics go hot.
Very true.
And that's the unseen hours. And that's what a lot of people, they don't see.
That the standard is different, right? So like this idea that a 4 a.m. workout, look, let's just be really honest. You and I, the NBA a lot better better than I do, but I know professional sports, and most dudes are coming home around 4 a.m. in the NBA oftentimes, right? Not having a workout at 4 a.m. and then to know that, no, it's not 4 a.m. You're there at 3:30. He had already been warming up for 25 or 30 minutes before. There's just a different standard. Yeah. I think with the elite performer, I think a elite mother has just a little bit different standard than an average mother. I think an elite executive, they just set a different culture of standards around. That's got to be part of it, right?
Absolutely. And I don't know if you know the reason that he did the workout at 4 a.m., but it parlays perfectly into your new book, Just Do One More. Okay. The reason Kobe does that, he understands that even the most aggressive players in the NBA, they're going to get in 2 workouts a day during the off season. First one is usually around 9 or 10 a.m. and then they'll take a lunch break and then they'll come back at 3 or 4. So his mindset was, if everyone else in the league is going to be doing 2 workouts a day, I'm going to do 3 because I'm going to do one more than they're doing. And the only way I can squeeze that in is if I get up and do it at 4. So when he's coming home from his first workout, his competition is just waking up to go in for their first workout. So then he's doing his second workout while they're doing their first. And then it's the compounding interest effect of, if I do this every single day in the off season for not just years, but in his case, decades, he said, no one will ever catch me. Because every time I wake up, I'm going to do one more than you're doing. You'll never catch me. And I think that's part of what gave him that, that Mamba mentality.
Why did I not interview before I wrote the book? Because that would all be in the book right there, like 100% verbatim, exactly why I wrote the book and what I believe. So this notion of what most people say, well, that's a crazy pace. And you write in your book about avoiding burnout. So I'm under, there's almost a duality there of, okay, you're going to do this crazy pace. How does one do those things and then still not fry or burn out? What would be a couple of things that you would say?
Burnout is the result of misalignment between the work that you're doing and your core values, your interest, your fascination, and the meaning behind your work. Okay. I don't know your daily schedule, but I imagine it's pretty immense.
You've been here today.
Yeah, right? I imagine you work a lot of hours, but the reason you're not approaching burnout is you find meaning and purpose in those hours. You're being of service to millions of people. So that's why you don't experience burnout. If those two things start to splinter, if you were working 60, 70, 80 hours a week for work that you didn't enjoy, work you didn't find fascinating, work you didn't feel was making a contribution to other people's lives, work that you didn't find meaningful, you'd be on the cusp of burnout. And that's what a lot of people are experiencing. So it's not just the long hours. It's when long hours are not congruent with what it is that lights you up and fills your bucket.
Bro, very good. Speaking of congruency, just meeting you briefly, mutual friends of ours. I interview authors sometimes and they don't reflect what I see in their book. Or quite frankly, sometimes they don't even really know or understand everything that's in their book. One of the things about you is that you own this information. Like, this is your content. This is your message. It's just reflexive. I'm watching you. It's like, what do you got? Give me the other one. And it's outstanding. And I wonder if that's important to you, that you live the things that you're teaching.
Oh, absolutely. I would think as a keynote speaker and an author, I'm holding myself to an even higher standard. I mean, I don't know that anything would make me more sick to my stomach than for someone to see me doing something that is not in alignment with what I preach from stage or what I put in my books. And I don't hold myself to a standard of perfection. I'm fallible. I make mistakes. I have lapses in judgment. But generally speaking, the fact that I'm putting this content out there, I want to hold myself to that. And I'll also say that the books I write books based on what it is that I'm going through in my life. And I write books that I myself need to read. So it's actually a form of therapy for me to write something. I've absolutely experienced stress, stagnation, and burnout in my life several times. So I wanted to get to the root of it because I figure if it can help me, certainly somebody else out there is going through similar difficulties and challenges. So I want to offer that to them. And the last thing I'll say on that is, with any of this stuff, I'm not speaking from a place of mastery. This is all stuff that I am still working on, but the book is what holds me to that standard. So when I find myself getting momentarily stressed, I actually smile, have a kind and compassionate conversation with myself, and just say, Alan, remember, you write about this, you speak about this, now you need to live it. And that tongue-in-cheek kind of self-compassion actually gets me through those times.
Yeah, you talk about being kind and compassionate in the book.
There's millions of people listening to this right now or watching, and they're down. They're you on the football field that day. Everything was great. You called a play. You actually went and helped out on a guy that wasn't your guy on that play, did you not? Yeah. Yep. And they're down and they're going, look, I don't know which way's up. I don't know where I want to go. I want to change my life. I want to be happier. I want to have my test be my testimony at some point. Where do I begin? What would your advice be to somebody, just in general, relationship, body, business? This is where I should begin. What would you recommend to them?
I would say tie it to something that's real. Like whatever that driving force is, tie it to something that's real, whether that be family, whether that be the life that you aspire to have, and be loyal, right? Be loyal to what you say you're gonna do. Like I've heard Tony Robbins say it before when he said, like I asked her, was her happiness that cheap, right? Like, is your drive that cheap, right? To the point to where when you don't get what you thought you were gonna get. I put it on my Instagram today. I said, man, everybody will tell you what they're gonna do when things go right. Yeah. But nobody addresses what they're gonna do when things go wrong. And we both know, in the words of Martin Luther King, right? Character, right, is built in times of challenge and controversy. And so when you encounter the challenge and the controversy, I would say be grateful for it. You say it all the time. Things don't happen to us, they happen for us. You say it all the time. Hidden blessings, right? All it is, all the tragedy and opposition in that verse, it's a hidden blessing that you don't know is a blessing yet. So consider it a blessing, grace, right? Consider it a blessing before you consider it a blessing, and watch the perspective that you acquire about the situation. And when you acquire the right perspective about the situation, don't look at it and say, why me? Look at it and say, why not you? And just get up and put one foot in front of the other and use your situation to add value to the world. The quicker you shift your perspective to add value to the world, the quicker you'll get to your situation and your circumstance.
And this is, by the way, from a man who did this. Within hours of waking up from his dream being over, Coach Fulmer, who's a legend, he's the AD now at Tennessee, comes in and says, hey, you be okay? Coach, I got this, I'm good. What exactly did you say to him? Was it something right around those lines, right?
I said, Coach, I'm good, I'm blessed.
I'm blessed. After his dream had just ended. So this is someone who's lived this, guys, like legitimately lived this, and tying it to something is such brilliant advice, because I say often, we say it a little bit different, but I always talk about, I'm blown away by how easily someone's will to win can be bought.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
I heard that.
Yeah, but they'll sell it, right? And so, but you know what most of you won't sell is if you do what this man just advised you to do. If you'll tie your dream to something you wouldn't sell out, like your children, like your spouse, like your God, you'll question selling out your kids. But if you don't tie your kid to your dream, hey, it's easy to quit, but all of a sudden you just sold your kids' dreams. That's harder to do. You just sold God out because you don't have faith something's going to happen. Maybe you'll stay in a little bit longer when you tie it. So there's brilliance to what this man is telling you. Okay, I'm telling you. And so there's just very few people who just speak real truth. And the reason your truth is so profound is because you live it. It's not speeches you give. It's a part of your story. Okay, last question. Okay. By the way, this is just awesome today. Okay. And I just hope everybody hasn't run off the road, you know what I'm saying, that are in their cars because of the fuel that we're giving everybody. But I want to ask you lastly about young people. I asked you this off camera, but I want your answer here. A lot of people here that are listening to this have children, or they'll play this part of the interview, and you speak a lot to kids. And there's something that we haven't talked about here today that I just want to finish on if we're going real. This is, you grew up poor. Now, not poor of spirit, poor of family, but when you got 12 people in a 2-bedroom place, there was not a ton of money floating around that house of yours. Okay. So there's somebody listening to this who goes, you know, I'm poor so I can't win. Or, you know what, I think I have a disadvantage because of the color of my skin or my religion or my sexual preference or something like that, that they're not in the mainstream, they're not in the majority. There's a circumstance where their dreams ended, they don't have a father in their life. What advice would you give that young person who thinks potentially that's a negative? Are they right, and can they overcome it anyway, or should they just be grateful for the blessings that they have?
I would say play the hand you dealt like it's the one you always wanted, right? Because we all know, like, who you run with determines the direction that you run, who you hang around is who you become. And so the way that I feel as if I got through my circumstance, it wasn't all by my might and my power, even though I had a level of focus and I saw the collateral damage as it happened, right? The same way that you could be in a circumstance and you can learn from people that do things right, you can learn from people that do things wrong. But I had people that I respected enough not to disrespect. Wow. I had people that I respected enough not to disrespect. My coach, highest level of respect. I couldn't disrespect him. Being lazy would have been disrespecting him. My mother working a double shift, being lazy, cutting class, smoking weed, I'd have been disrespecting her, right? My teachers that went to bat for me and said, son, you got it, right? I would have been disrespecting them if I wouldn't have tried to do my best and accomplish what I feel I could accomplish. And so the thing I would say to them is, it's somebody in life, and this is across the board, not just young people, it's somebody in life that situation and circumstance is a lot worse than yours. And they took their hand and they're winning with it. Their hand is a lot worse than yours. They took it, they pick up the pieces every single day and they're winning with it. It's only an excuse, it's only a bad situation if you label it that. Perspective drives performance every day of the week. How you view what you do will affect how you do what you do. Play the hand that you're dealt like it's the hand that you always wanted.
Oh, dude. Thank you.
My man.
I love today. I'm so grateful that we did this today.
It's an honor, man.
When you wrote Stay Hungry, did that have anything to do with this? By the way, you guys should get this book, and the tour is also called Stay Hungry also, right? Yes. Why'd you write that book? Because it's a bestseller. Why'd you write it? And does that have any relationship between all those years at the Four Seasons and staying hungry for your career?
It does, yes. And I never thought I would write a book. I always thought books were for like ex-presidents and people, you know, who had something extraordinary happen to them.
You come across like this. I'm this very serious guy. I'm kind of like everybody else. But not everybody, I just think this is a funny story, and I want you to tell it if you don't mind, because I laughed so hard when I heard it, but I think it goes to prove that you're not exactly like everybody else and normal. Can you tell them how you did the air freshener in your car? Please tell me that that's true.
Yeah.
Tell me that's one of the true ones.
That's true.
I just want them to hear this so they know you are a little bit off.
I'm
also.
off. Yeah, I mean, I never said I was normal by any. Although this, I feel like, is something that people should do.
Yeah, they should.
So I didn't like the air fresheners that you would go and get at the gas station, the vanilla, the apple, the pine. I like cologne. So what I did was I took a bottle of my favorite cologne and I cracked it in a bowl. And I took like a little dish rag, thin, and I cut it into like little squares, and I rolled up the squares and I banded the rolls up and I let them marinate overnight in the cologne. Now, in the morning, I would put in the vents, the little rags, right? This is when I was like 15, 16 years old. Actually 16, when I was driving. Yes. So I would go pick up a girl on a date and then just casually put on the air conditioning and she'd be like, man, the car smells like you. And I go, I know, it's beautiful, isn't it? So I would kind of match the cologne scent of the car to what I was wearing that particular evening. Yeah. Now, is that abnormal? Probably, but I'm sure after telling that story, you guys are gonna go do it, right? I mean,
what's amazing to me is you're in your mid-40s and you just preceded that story by saying you think more people should do it.
This my little technique.
Yeah, that's wonderful, man. That's so awesome. So I'm curious, oh gosh, there's like a million of those, but I had to at least have one. I live in fear that like what's happening for me could go away.
Oh yeah.
So you've had this stuff happen, right? So take us in the mindset of someone who's in the midst of, I don't want to call it your prime, but it kind of is, right? Like you've hit this stride now, which we'll talk about in a minute, in multiple areas, from the book, from the tour, acting, you know, a lot of different areas in your family life. What are you thinking right now? Are you thinking like, I could lose this. I gotta. What's in your head?
When's this gonna end? When am I gonna go and look at the ticket counts and they're not what they were the last time I was there? So that is what's driving me to succeed. It's not, again, I don't think in the positive realm like, oh man, I sold 4 Madison Square Garden shows. The next time I'm gonna sell 8. Yeah. My goal is to just. Yeah, it's more fear-based than positive based, I guess. I don't want to let these people down. They pay good money. They don't want to see the same jokes. It's coming to a show that they saw 12 or 16 months prior.
Yeah.
So it's that challenge of keeping it on a level. That's what the staying hungry means, kind of like never resting on your success, always kind of wanting more. And that is a big fear. It's just like, you can't, I believe you're hot.
Yep.
And then you cool off.
Yeah.
So my thing is, when is the cooling off gonna happen? Not that I want it to.
Yeah, right.
But I'm aware,
Yep.
I have enough awareness that we have a spike in our career, and then there's always kind of like a drop off.
Yeah.
Do I want to drop off? No, but it's hard to plan too. It's just like, I don't have a job where the salary's guaranteed.
Yep.
So if I want to buy a house, what could I buy? Could I buy a house that, if I sustain this type of lifestyle, I mean, like, nothing is really. I'm not bitching about finances. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard to kind of gauge your future based on a career that you could pitter out at any moment.
Time for me to check in, right? Now, the check-in process at the airport, they don't want to look at you, head down, right? No smile, nothing. I feel like I'm working. Right? I feel like I work at United. Hi, how you doing? Right? The only time they get happy is when the bag goes over the weight allowance. They love telling you you're gonna owe extra on this bag. And you know it's heavy. When you're packing it at home, you tell your wife, we're never gonna make it with the, just okay, I'll put it, right? So heavy, right? You put it up there, and you know it's heavy, so you kind of try and release it. You do that like kind of soft release, like that's gonna take weight off the bag. And her mood changes. She's like, ooh, I'm sorry. Your bag is 2 pounds over. You're gonna have to take 2 pounds out of your bag. Now, like an idiot, I gotta open up my bag in front of 187 people. I don't know what 2 pounds is. I'm taking out a boot, a sock, toothpaste. Is this 2 pounds? Does anybody know what 2 pounds is? They're gonna charge me an extra $8,000. You think the boot's a half a pound? I go, where do you want me to put this? She's like, put that in your carry-on. I said, it's still going on the plane. What does it matter if it's on top or underneath? The guy behind me's 500 pounds. That doesn't matter?
50 successful people in their prime, that maybe 10% answer that honestly, because I know what it's like when things are going well, and there is this party that's like, when's this going to end? What am I going to do? What would it be like if it did slow down?
So are you like that?
Yeah, not so much anymore, but I think I'm still after. I think part of my inspiration now is I have this audio I did called Blissful Dissatisfaction. And what it means is, not to go too deep on it, but I had this formula forever, like, I better not enjoy this, because if I enjoy this, I'm going to lose my hunger. So I literally linked in my head, don't enjoy it, just keep grinding, because this enjoyment, you'll lose all this drive. And that's what most athletes, most successful people do. That's sort of their mindset. It's almost like a superstition, right? Because for so long you didn't enjoy it and you finally got something. I finally figured out after a while that there's a difference between happiness and satisfaction. You could actually be blissful and happy and still dissatisfied. In fact, there's a correlation between the two. The more your brain gets this little dopamine hit, like, that was cool, I loved this, I'm enjoying my success, the more you actually want to go take the steps to do it again. And so it's like biting into a great steak. You break that first bite, it's like, it doesn't make you not want another bite. There's no connection between the two. Mm-hmm. So for me, the formula now is more like, how can I be blissfully dissatisfied, happily dissatisfied, but I still operate out of fear. There's two motivators, right? Gain pleasure, avoid pain. Avoid pain has been like my mechanism forever.
I think it was Michael Jordan's. It was Tiger. But I do watch a guy like Tiger Woods. I don't know if you watch any golf, but like he kind of enjoys the game now for the first time. Whereas before he was laser vision, tunnel focused all the time. So I work on that with the different people that I work with. So that's mine is both. I'm still super afraid it's going to go away. And I think your identity starts to get tied up in it too a little bit.
Yeah,
so
it does.
So what do you do? Are you enjoying this?
I could be enjoying it more. You were really speaking to actually how I'm feeling. A lot of people, even on my team, whether it be my manager or, I think other people, like my family's more excited when I tell them about something that happened to me than I'm actually excited about myself, just for that reason. It's like, man, I don't want to get too happy here because this might not, I might get relaxed. I don't know, happiness to me would be like being relaxed and content.
Yep.
If I'm never like satisfied, then I feel like I'm always going to strive to hit the next goal.
The thing is, though, what happens is, now we're doing therapy together here, the thing happens is you do hit the next goal and then you don't enjoy that one. And then you do hit the next goal and you don't enjoy that one.
Yeah.
And then, so what was the point of hitting those goals if you never enjoy any of them, right? And so there's this part, especially with you having a young family, there's got to be this time where, I also think you want your kids to see dad loving and enjoying his life too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't get the call and go, you sold out 4 Madison Square Garden.
Right.
I was like, what? I got to get happy about that?
I hear you. Yeah.
But it's I'm not like, I'm not like, that guy.
Yeah.
I might like internalize the happiness. I might not show it as much as somebody else might show it.
Mm-hmm.
And people think, oh, what's wrong with him? This guy's not like happy about all his success. I'm happy, but it's more managed happiness than walking around with a huge smile on my face.
Yeah.